You're listening to the Major Pod Network, the only place where your favorite toy store, bar, arcade, and arena are all on the same block. Scratch that major itch.
The Game Marks podcast wants to express its condolences to the family and friends of Major Mark and staple of the community, Joe Ryan. Today on the Game Marks podcast, we play All-Star Pro Wrestling 2. Will this sequel to a game we played last year hold up today? Will we play it forever? Woo! Or future endeavor?
You're fired!
All of this plus gaming news, GMP64 and Clash at the Feast. Plug in and put on those nostalgia goggles because this week's Game Marks podcast starts now. And now, the Game Marks.
Welcome to the Game Marks podcast presented by the Major Pod Network. I am Mr. AIF, George Feis.
And I'm the man they call Johnny Clash, and today we are playing All-Star Pro Wrestling 2.
And as always, guys, we'd love to hear from you. So please leave us a review on Apple Podcasts and make sure to subscribe and rate this podcast wherever you choose to listen. And join in on the conversation on all forms of social media at Game Marks Pod. And our Patreon, patreon.com/GameMarksPod. John, how are you doing, bud?
I'm doing great. George, while you're talking about the Apple reviews, it is August. We got a new contest right now. Starting as you're hearing this, starting right now. All you need to do is leave us a rating on Apple Podcast, screenshot it, send it to us wherever on social media. Listen, it's got to be new. It can't be an old one. You got to do a new one. And we will send you an exclusive Game Marks podcast 8x10 signed by us. Now, there are only a few of these in circulation because these were for the Gameboree winners last year, but we had a few left over and we figured that our Game Marks here would appreciate them.
I'm kind of embarrassed about that signature still. I'm still workshopping that, so
it's all right.
You know,
we got time.
Be nice.
We'll be nice. But last week we played WWE Aftershock for the Nokia N-Gage. I'm just kind of tucking that one away. We had serious debates with some of our listeners on the N-Gage as a whole. Was it perfect? Far from it. Was it good?
No.
Far from it. Was it bad?
No.
It was somewhere in the middle. I considered the N-Gage a failed console.
It's hard because, and I feel like I've definitely said this before in the past, I always try to find, the silver lining of, the console or the game and, hey, this was bad, but, no, but I always try to find, the one gem or, this was something that they did really well. And, for Aftershock, the big surprise was that they actually used the wrestler's music, which was okay.
But that's it. Fine. That's it, though.
But, the N-Gage as a whole was okay, it's a phone, and it was also brought to our attention, little follow-up again from last week, that we never talked about the process of actually changing out a game on the N-Gage.
Oh, yeah.
So in order to do that, you have to have that little SD card. You have to pop off the back plate. You have to remove the battery. You have to take out the SD card. Then you have to put in the new SD card, put back in the battery, put back on the back plate, and then restart your phone because, like I said, you just removed the battery, so your console turned off. Now, imagine if every time... Okay, because I know that what I was about to say doesn't make sense, but I'm going to fix it. I was going to say, imagine if every time you went to go change a game, you had to turn off your console. Then I remembered that the Game Boy was a thing, and that was what you had to do.
Oh, I pulled that shit right out.
But imagine every time you turned on your console, it was the load time of a phone starter. So imagine you're playing Pokemon and you're like, all right, I'm going to go play King of the Ring on the Game Boy now. Or you're going to switch to a different Pokemon game. You have to flip the switch, take out the cartridge, put the new cartridge in, flip it on. And normally you get the splash screen, title screen, and you're right back in it. For a phone, you have to wait for the phone to like go on and then connect to the service. Like, this is not like an in and out operation here with the N-Gage.
You know what else we didn't talk about? How you actually make a phone call on this N-Gage, because there's the dial pad on the right, but you hold it like on the side of your head, like on the bottom of the N-Gage is where the sound comes. It's so like, stupid.
Everybody pick up your phone in your hands right now. Have your phone in your hands. Then turn your phone 90 degrees so that you are looking at the thin side of your phone, and then hold that section up to your head as if that was the section that you were making the phone call with. That's how you made a phone call on the N-Gage. John explained it perfectly, but I needed you to have that visual of just how ridiculous it looks to hold a phone sideways, jettisoning out of your head.
Yeah, but okay, enough about the N-Gage. I get it. Some people loved it for... If you loved the N-Gage, that is your opinion, and that means the console didn't fail, and there were some people that loved it. So to some, it was good, and I respect that. But
There's no such thing as a wrong opinion when it comes to video games.
Unless you like Backstage Assault. Anyway... Monday on the Patreon, that's today, you get the ad-free show. Tomorrow you will get the show notes and GMP Game Over at 7 p.m. Wednesday you will get Future Endeavored. Last week I played Power Move Pro Wrestling, and you're up this week, George. You get to play the same. I wish you the best of luck. And Friday, Clash and Burn, I'm going to talk all about the Creative Pro Wrestling show from last week and what's coming next.
Are we going to be able to book the sweeper from the Creative Pro show on as our next guest, or is his booking rate just too much? Because that guy was over.
I think it skyrocketed after last week, but he was also the biggest help that I needed when the music died, and we needed a distraction, and he just swept the ring for like 10 minutes while I got the music back up.
Kid's got a bright future. He's going to be a star one day.
All right, but George, this week I'm going to take the streamer spotlight because we are in a new month, and this is a very good friend of mine. I've played on stream with him many times. Twitch.tv/headburglar, and that's HEADBURGLAR. And he plays Minecraft, Valorant, Fortnite. Me and him have gone deep into Fortnite, where he's kind of showing me the ropes in Valorant. We've played Warzone together, everything. He's a great streamer, very professional, great looking page. You know, he's like on par with what ours looks like. He's got the emotes. He's got everything. He's also a graphic designer. So you'll be in for a great experience with his page as well. So go ahead and follow twitch.tv/headburglar.
Now, speaking of a great experience, I would be remiss if I didn't talk about our interview with Markout Digital Wrestling Card Game. Let me tell you something. There are very few games that are coming out that I am excited about, but even more so, it's very rare that I am excited about a game that I literally have zero experience playing the genre at all in the past. Mentioned it 100 times already. Not a card game guy, never have been, but there's just something different about Markout, and I cannot wait to get my hands on this. And listen, the wait, it's counting down. Only a couple weeks left before the game gets released, and I'm ready for it, man.
I'm so ready. Talking with Shannon Williams, he was awesome. I can't say it enough. It's just so insightful, so smart. He knows what he's doing, and I can't wait for not only this game, but to see what else he produces in the future, because he's young and he's hungry.
I would say it's nice to know that he has a plan. It's like so many game developers just like, I have this idea for a game, and I have no idea how to execute it, and I'm just going to kind of, wing it and see what happens. But he has a plan on how to execute it, and you can tell in our interview with him that he is passionate and knows what he's doing and knows what he wants to get out of this game, and it's got me hyped.
He's the whole package. The game itself is going to be the total package, not Lex Luger, of a video game. All right, but last week, Thursday, GMP64 episode 26, we are getting closer and closer to Backlash, which means we are only about a month and a half away from the season finale, WrestleMania. We know who the champions are. We know who the number one contenders are. Head on over to youtube.com/GameMarksPodcast to check out GMP64 today. We have the whole backlog, and if you're a Patreon subscriber, you get all the pay-per-views backlogged as well.
GMP64. It's just that for the last 2 months, I feel like you and I have said the same sentence over and over, but just with different inflection. It's like, I can't believe there's 2 months left, or I can't believe there's still 2 months left, because there's some days that we love it, and there's some days that we're just like, it's just another thing. Well, it's like a passion project. It's a lot
of work.
But it's so worth it. I love it. But John, all of that stuff, all of our episodes of GMP64, the Patreon exclusive video content, that's housed somewhere. What website's that on?
That is on, like I said, youtube.com/GameMarksPodcast.
And is there something happening on our YouTube channel that we're trying to do right now?
There is. So if you subscribe to the Game Marks Podcast YouTube channel, when we hit 400 subs, we will drop the history of the Road Warriors, the history of the Legion of Doom, Hawk, and Animal in video game form. When we started this contest, we were hovering around 290-ish. We have made our way to 321. We have to keep pushing. We are going to hit 400 before you know it, and this episode is going to be everything you wanted and more. Think of the Bret Hart, the visuals of the Bret Hart episode, but the Road Warriors. It's going to be awesome.
A lot of red and black going on.
A lot of hoopla.
But all right, John, I think it is time for us to hop on over to some gaming news. Are you looking to get a better grip on life? How about your video games? Well, VGF Gamers are the largest silicone gaming brand in the USA. They have a variety of different and unique skins for the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One controllers and consoles. Check out their products at VGFgamers.com and use code GameMarks to receive 15% off your order at checkout. That's GAMEMARKS at checkout. VGF Gamers. Better grip, better style.
Grand Theft Auto fans over on Reddit are divided over a possible GTA 6 leak. Just about every week there's a new GTA 6 rumor or report or leak making the rounds and being debated. And until Rockstar Games finally reveals the next installment of the series, and the first since 2013's GTA 5, this is going to continue to happen. The latest update comes from social media detective over on Reddit, who noticed something interesting about an Instagram post from a musician that worked on both GTA 4 and 5. Taking to Reddit, the GTA fan revealed that back in March 23rd, 2020, the musician made a post on Instagram that noted that the setup by Flavor Nation, part of the original soundtrack for GTA 5, passed 16 million plays, and then remarked that he can't wait for GTA 6. A new Halo Infinite leak has revealed 343 Industries' plan for multiple campaigns, which lines up with what developer has been alluding to since it began to really talk about the Xbox and PC game a couple years ago. The leak comes the way of a screenshot taken from the ongoing stress test, which shows a menu featuring the following options: news, multiplayer, and campaigns. Of course, it's possible campaign being plural is simply a mistake, but while this is a possibility, it's an unlikely one. That's all the gaming news we have this week. Check back next week. Another week, another GTA 6 possible leak. I just don't think we're going to see it for a long time.
I feel like from now until Christmas, we're pretty much only going to be talking about all the new information that comes out in regards to GTA, and, you know, because there's always, it's the game that won't go away. So it's either being announced on another console, or there's a new mod coming out, or there's some kind of leak about GTA 6, or we're talking about Halo. I feel like that's really all we're going to be talking about for the foreseeable future.
Two games we didn't think were ever possible, and at least the Halo one's coming to fruition. But GTA 6, I don't think we're going to see it for a while. It's on GTA 5 is still going so strong, and now it's on the PS5. I don't know. They have no reason to rush it, and I think they could just make it a really good game like GTA 4 and 5 were. I mean, all of them, really. And come out whenever it's going to come out. But multiple campaigns in Halo, I could get behind that. Maybe you got Master Chief, maybe you got one from the other side, maybe you got Cortana's view, I don't know.
I mean, I look at it this way. I'm still grinding through Master Chief Collection.
Same,
And
yeah.
It's fun. I actually did not think I was gonna like it as much as I do.
What are you up to?
But
Are you still on 1?
yeah, I'm still on 1.
Okay.
I don't remember. It's as we're recording, it's been a couple of days since I played, so I don't remember exactly where I've been. But I played earlier this week. And I'm having a really good time. I'm not sure if this is how Master Chief Collection works though, but I think you can break it down per game to play the multiplayer for each game. So like I can go and I can play Combat Evolved multiplayer based on that.
The best multiplayer.
So like I'm excited to go and do that. So like I want to play through the story mode, get familiar with Halo 1. Then I'm going to go and do like multiplayer matches in Halo 1. Then I'll play through 2 and like I'm going to do that all the way up. And I'm making the most of this experience. I've had Master Chief Collection for a while. I'm finally diving in, and who knows? Maybe I'll even start playing some of it on Twitch.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, because I got through Combat Evolved in 3 days. It's so crazy how you press one button, you go from the original Xbox graphics to the updated reskin. It's insane what it looks like. I got
a good amount of, like, I had hours into the game, and I didn't know that you could do that, and all of a sudden I accidentally, so on PC, if you're playing on mouse and keyboard, it's tab. So I was playing and I was like, oh, what does tab do? Because usually that brings up like the score, like the scorecard. And all of a sudden I got potato graphics and I was like,
yeah. But you know what? I thought
my graphics card was like fried. I thought I broke the game.
They made it so realistic now that when you get stuck in a level, I feel like if you press that and you go back to the old graphics, it's sometimes easier to navigate and find your way out.
Yeah, the part where you have to go over the bridge in the first Halo, where you have to where you have to raise the
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know what you mean.
We have to raise the bridge. The graphics were too crisp and clean, so I couldn't find the little walkway that you have to get up to go and hit the.
Oh, you're not the only one. Trust me.
I was just like, I don't know where I was supposed to go, and I hit tab. The graphics went to potato quality. I'm like, oh yeah, there's a walkway right over there. I have to go get that now.
We could talk about Halo all day. I beat the Combat Evolved in like 3 days, and I did it on Xbox, but I plan on doing Halo 2 on.
Is
on
there
PC
a co-op story?
We got to check. I don't know.
I was saying, because that would be kind of cool. You and I both play through Halo 2 together.
Speaking of playthroughs, I was going to mention this when we were talking about GMP64 ending. I've been backlogging Day of Reckoning playthroughs. So as soon as GMP64 ends, I'm going to slot those in right at that Thursday time slot. I have 5 of them so far. It's going to take about 11 or 12 to get through Day of Reckoning. So we're going to be covered for a while. And then you know what? There's Day of Reckoning too, so we're good.
I was saying, then when when those are airing, I'll be making one of my own, and then when I'm making that one, John will be doing Day of Reckoning too.
Yeah, exactly. Content kings over here. But all right, George, what do you say? It's time we get over to the question of the week.
Oh, baby.
What's up, Game Marks? Are you trying to look your best while repping your favorite video game podcast duo? We know just the place. Head over to ProWrestlingTees.com/GameMarksPod to pick up your favorite GMP designs, including our various logo tees, Future Endeavor, the classic NES Pro Wrestling style tee, and of course, Mark the F out. Order today and receive a phone call from us. You never know who will pop in. That's ProWrestlingTees.com/GameMarksPod. Play it forever.
All right, so the question of the week, the weekly segment where you ask us a question on any form of social media at GameMarksPod, and if we pick your question, you get a GameMarksPod prize pack. Last week's question was, you are alone on a deserted island. What wrestling game and console are you bringing with you? We surprisingly did not say the N64 and No Mercy.
Oh, I went WrestleMania 19 there.
I said WWE 13.
Yeah.
But we got some great answers on social media. Armbar 1004th Wrestling Podcast says SmackDown vs. Raw 2006 and a PlayStation 2. If I'm going to die alone, I'd rather die while listening to Waterproof Blonde. Just close your eyes.
I can get behind that. Yep.
Nightmare Mouse says, has to be N64, and I want to say World Tour, but I'm going to go with No Mercy. More stuff. Backstage Assault is a close second.
I don't get it. I'm sorry, Nightmare Mouse. I just don't get it. But like I said, if you enjoyed it, that is your opinion, and good on you.
Hey, listen, I support it. It's a wrestling video game. You're bringing it with you. I'm down.
This one was my favorite one from Mufasa1225. He wants SmackDown 2 because the load times would kill a lot of time. You can't deny it.
Is that which one was the game that you can pick which loading screens showed? Was that SmackDown 2?
I don't know.
There's one where you can pick it's like, oh, you can only see your favorite wrestlers. And it's just like,
I don't think 2
or
did
you
that.
can or you can only show the Divas loading screens.
Well,
and
yeah.
It's just like, all right, well, every 16-year-old guy's doing that 100%.
All right, but this week's question comes from Instagram. It's from TheFees23. I consider 1997 to 2006-ish to be the golden era for wrestling games. Of the following, what do you consider to be the best year for wrestling games in history? All right, so we got 2000, which is SmackDown 1 and 2 and No Mercy. 2003, Here Comes the Pain, WrestleMania 19, Raw 2. 2005, Day of Reckoning 2 and SmackDown vs. Raw 2006. What say you, George?
This is hard. Again, gut reaction. I'm inclined to say 2000, but 2003 also sounds really good. I'm in there somewhere. I'm either 2000 or 2003. You give your answer and then I'll decide.
I am fully on board with 2003. WrestleMania 19, one of my all-time favorites. Raw 2, I did put a lot of time in, so I can't complain on that, even though it was not the best game in the world. I put so much time into that. And Here Comes the Pain is...
That's what's doing it for me. Here Comes the Pain.
Quite possibly the best wrestling game ever made. I'll say it.
I'm going to go 2003.
It's debatable that that's the best game on everyone's list. So I'm going 2003.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm going 2003 as well.
Cool. So now we're going to throw it out to you, the listeners. We're going to post the graphics so we don't have to go back and listen and repeat and type and all that. But what do you consider to be the best year in wrestling game history? Fees23, DM us on social media for your prize.
John?
Yep.
Are you ready?
I'm on the edge of the diving board. I'm ready to see if this one holds up to last year's All-Star Pro Wrestling 1, which we both future endeavored.
It is the sequel to All-Star Pro Wrestling, and it's time for the deep dive. All-Star Pro Wrestling 2. Are you sick of drinking the same old boring coffee with the same old boring flavors? Well, Marks, it's time for you to check out Bones Coffee Company. Bones Coffee isn't just a drink that wakes you up in the morning. It's a full flavor experience. Small batch roasts that are made to order so that every order is guaranteed to be fresh. Unbelievable, all-natural flavors in every single bag. Some of our favorites are blueberry, paradise pie, and chocolate raspberry. But if you're not into the flavored coffees, they've got their single origin series featuring coffee beans from the greatest coffee growing regions in the world. Visit GameMarksPod.com/coffee to place your order and try the world's freshest small batch coffee.
Take it away.
All right, so All-Star Pro Wrestling 2 released November 22nd, 2001 for the PlayStation 2, developed by Squaresoft, published by Squaresoft, and like we said, this is the sequel to All-Star Pro Wrestling 2. Now, this game comes out in 2001. Other games that are also out, you have WWF with Authority, WWF Betrayal, WWF Road to WrestleMania, SmackDown, Just Bring It, Fire Pro Wrestling D, Fire Pro Wrestling for the Game Boy Advance, Legends of Wrestling, and I mean, let's break this down, John. With Authority, card game, okay. You've got a Game Boy Color game. You've got a Game Boy Advance game. You've got Just Bring It, a Game Boy Advance Fire Pro Wrestling game, Legends of Wrestling, and then Fire Pro Wrestling D.
We have played all of these in the archives except Fire Pro Wrestling D.
I gotta tell you, I think the only thing that's given this a run for its money is Just Bring It.
Absolutely. I mean, PlayStation 2 for 2001, we're going to get into like the graphics and the artwork and the art style of this game. It was mind-blowing how good this game looked and feels and played and everything.
Well, so this is a massive, massive upgrade from the first game, and you can go back if you want a quick refresh on our opinions of All-Star Pro Wrestling 1. The short answer is we did not like it. There was...
Let's say why. They implemented like this weird control where you're using the thumbsticks for literally everything. And I get it. Like NHL does that now with shooting and moving up and down and whatnot, but in a wrestling game, it just feels weird. It's clunky.
There was a distinct lack of personality to me.
Yeah.
In the last game. It just kind of felt like they were just like, yeah, we're going to make a wrestling game and this looks like a wrestling game, and that was it. Where this feels more in line with what you would expect from, you know, a New Japan wrestling game or a Fire Pro game or a WWF game at the time. Like this is on par with everything else that is out at the time, where the first game just kind of missed the mark on a bunch of different steps. But the main thing was the controls.
Yeah, the first game was just as pretty, just as like visually as good as it was going to get for the time and for the console. But this one upped that and then upped the controls as well. Same thing as Fire Pro, kind of, where you have your weak, your medium, your strong grapple, and then you kind of have to work around that. And simple enough.
It was very intuitive to pick up. Once you know what button does what, it's pretty much. I mean, the AKI games always keep creeping back up, but it's a great idea, and it's been utilized in a lot of different ways. You know, you lock up, collar and elbow, and then you hit your direction, and you either hit the triangle or your square or your X button, and depending on the direction that you're hitting when you press that button, you do a different move. It's the same concept that we see utilized in games all the way back on the N64, all the way up to now. You could do that exact same game style, that gameplay mechanic in 2K20.
You know what I liked? The reversal system here, because if you were pressing the face buttons to do a move, it's the same thing you have to mash to reverse the move, and then for the actual grapple, that was the same button as reversing like a strike. It was kind of, it made it a little, at first you're like, what do I press for what? But then it made it a little bit easier.
Yeah, it was a learning curve, but it wasn't a learning curve at a detriment.
Right.
It made you, the gameplay was different enough where it wasn't like, oh, why is it like this?
Right.
Whose idea was this? This is terrible.
Yeah, you could see from our first match, it just took forever on Clash at the Feast. Our playthroughs before that, we were just kind of Googling and figuring out what to do, where, how to do what. The first match at Clash at the Feast, not to spoil anything, the match was over. And you know how Fire Pro, you could fight people after the bell rings? George just picked me up and Liger bombed me after the match.
Yep.
So it's kind of like kind of very acclaimish, I'll say, very Warzone, very attitude, but it was kind of cool.
And then I did the same thing in the second match too.
Right. And the one thing missing from this game that was so prominent and so beautiful in the first game is the entrances. We pointed out All-Star Pro Wrestling how Liger just had that entrance coat, the big presence feel, the pyro, this whole arena. This time you kind of just start in the ring and you both get introduced, which is still cool. It's still a big introduction, a big presentation, big fight feel. But we always say, oh, maybe they should take this out and this out, make the game better. Maybe maybe that was something they took out to make the game better. So I'll go with that. I'm for it.
The roster in this game is bigger than the first game. So Maybe part of that is they take out entrances to give you a more expansive roster. There's even unlockables. We'll get into that a little later. But there's just something... I don't even know the word. It's more of a fulfilling experience to play this game versus the first one. You have a better time because it feels like this control layout and the graphics and the look and the feel was done with purpose. It wasn't just put together to make a game, which is, easier said than done. You can definitely make a game that looks great and the controls and the mechanics are garbage, and that just sucks all of the fun out of the game.
Yeah, we'll see what happens when 2K22 comes out.
Yeah, it's going to hit different. Now, I don't know if different means good or different means bad, but it's going to hit different. But let's talk about these game mechanics here, these game options, these match types. So you have your single match. You have a special singles match, which is your exhibition. You have a technical match, which is a submission or knockout match. You have your all-star tournament. It's your league match where it's 12 guys that are split into 2 6-man brackets, and you earn points in advance by beating the members in your brackets. And you can challenge for different belts from both Noah and New Japan. You have your tag match, where you have your special match. You have your All-Star Tag Tournament, which is the same as the All-Star Tournament, just now it's a tag variant. You have your Battle Royal, which is 4-man elimination with a winner, John.
What do they get?
Winner? 5 million yen.
Whoa.
And then you have, and I had to ask you about this because I didn't know what this was. There's also another mode called Rising. And in Rising, it is essentially like the training mode, but you play as 2 characters, and when you complete the Rising training, you unlock those 2 characters.
It's almost like a story mode, but you're learning the ropes while you do it.
It's cool. It's like interactive, unlockable. It's more than just like a tutorial. It's like an immersive tutorial. It's a story tutorial.
Now, there's also a thing called unit assembly, where you could...
Hey. No one wants to hear about you putting together your unit, John.
Awkward silence. So here you put together your own federation, because Pro Wrestling Noah's in here, New Japan Pro Wrestling's in here. You could make your own. You make the name similar to Fire Pro. But this time you could add your own stables within that federation, and you can also make your own kind of team music. Like you could add music to your team, and that's their like winning music, because there's no entrances here. So when you win, you hear it.
Yeah, I was saying the music all of a sudden would just play at the end of a match, and I was like, oh, that's okay. There it is.
Which feels like a waste to me, but whatever.
But okay. Do you want to dive into this roster, John?
Yes, but before, we're going to hear a word from our sponsors.
All right, John, listen. I'm going to do you a favor this week. And I'm going to take on the roster cuz I'm a good friend, and I'm going to do that for you. So your roster for All-Star Pro Wrestling 2. Akira Tao, Antonio Inoki, Battle Liger, Don Fry, El Samurai, Genichiro Jinai, Great Muda, Hiroyoshi Tenzan, Jumbo Tsuruta, Jun Akiyami, Jushin Thunder Liger, Kazuo Yamazaki, Kaiji Muto, Kendo Kashin, Kensuke Sasaki, Kenta Kobashi, Koji Kanemoto, Manabu Nakaishi, Masahiro Chono, Masao Inoue, Minoru Tanaka, Mitsuharu Masawa, Mitsuo Momoto, Naomichi Marufuji, Power Warrior, Riki Choshu, Riki Dozan, Satoshi Kojima, Scott Norton, Shinjiro Otani, Shinya Hashimoto, Shiro Koshinaka, Tadao Yasuda, Takao Omori, Takashi Riko, Taemon Honda, Tatsuhito Takaiwa, Tatsumi Fujinami, Vader, White Mask, Yoshihiro Takayama, Yoshinari Ogawa, and Yuji Nagata. Now there's also 3 unlockable characters. Kazuo Yamazaki, which you unlock by winning the IWGP title with Yuji Nagata. There is Shinjiro Otani, but this is the junior heavyweight version where you have to unlock him by defeating the heavyweight class Shinjiro Otani with a junior wrestler.
Cool concept.
And then you have Yasuka Yuri and Kenichiro Jinai by successfully completing Rising Mode. And those are the 2 wrestlers that you get from doing that story mode training.
Yep. So I was looking up the arenas when I was researching for this game, and I couldn't really find much. I saw that they just, they looked good. I couldn't see an actual list of the arenas like we do for the WWE games. But while we were in the game, you found that it kind of shows you a map. And you select the region of Japan, and it brings you to different arenas within those regions. So amongst the 7 areas you could choose from, there's 17 total arenas. And we were playing in the smaller gymnasium-looking arena, the Tokyo Dome-looking arena. It's pretty cool. And then you could customize your ring with colors and logos, which is very acclaimish, but better.
It's cool. So you can do, the New Japan style ring. They have Pro Wrestling Noah ring. They have All-Star Pro Wrestling themed rings. They even have a square ring that's themed. Yeah, so this was a different kind of experience. It's very cool. It almost kind of felt like, I don't know, you know how in like Street Fighter you can go and select your region, like you can select the country that you want to fight in. It almost felt like that. You
or
can
even
select
Legends of Wrestling.
Yeah, that also works too. But like you select the region, and then there's different arenas in that region. It was cool. It was unique. It was something that you don't see often. So I appreciate it, and I believe you did as well, John.
Yeah, very much. I liked it.
But listen, let's talk about this absolutely badass looking artwork here.
I love it. The first All-Star Pro Wrestling was just a ring, right?
Yeah.
With the Japanese turnbuckle pads. This one, you have Kaiji Muto and Masaharu Misawa looking like they're about to rip your face off on the cover with the All-Star Pro Wrestling logo. This is what you want in a wrestling cover.
Man, it is. I want this as a poster. Like, this is so...
I would be too scared.
It is, no, I want, like, you put this in your gym and, like, your home gym, and this motivates you to get your shit together because these guys are, like, waiting around a corner for you, and you got to be able to, like, kick their ass.
All right, I believe it. The back cover is pretty cool, too. Should we do that thing we do and take out the translator?
It's been a while. I'm all for it.
All right. We are currently translating the back cover. All Japan Pro Wrestling realized in the ultimate case tell the battle of dreams. All-Star Pro Wrestling, the bell is now be beaten. New Japan TJ Noah 01 participate in the real name. Pretty much it's showing tag match battle royal up to 5 people in the ring at a time, and it includes Misawa and Kaiji Muto with beautiful black and white pictures of them actually wrestling. Now, looking at this small, this is a big nod to the game. I had to actually think if the ones on the right were real or the game because the game looks that good.
Yeah. They do kind of throw in these screenshots as loading screens, so like you see a lot of these images like when you're loading into the matches and stuff. So it could be direct stills from that, and like maybe that's what. But the graphics for this game, man.
All right, let's get into it.
Man,
the ring itself. We'll start with the ring. The Japanese turnbuckle pads that were used through the ropes. Usually, there's like clunkiness to the bumps, to the moves, to hitting the ropes. You know, the guy doesn't grab the rope. Like, just speaking from like a wrestler's standpoint, or a suplex hits a little differently. The moves don't connect right, but
it hits different.
It hits different, yeah. Every move is executed like you're watching a wrestling match. Whoever did this motion capture, a serious applause to you because everything looked legit. Was it clunky at times? Yes. The crowd itself, very papery. It's very repeated, but it's faded and blurred to the point where you don't notice it as much.
I was going to say, you pointed that out, and I was like, oh, it's cool that like during the opening part of the match with the ring announcer talking, you see the crowd actually reacts. So they stay very, calm and just like
that's a Japan
papery
crowd. If you watch any New Japan Pro Wrestling, the crowd, they react, but they're not rowdy.
They're not losing their mind all the time, which it was cool. It was something different to see that executed so perfectly in a video game. Because normally, like we've said in the games that we've played in the past, it's either a very papery style crowd where, well, it's okay. So there's three. There's the paper style crowd, which is like the paper / PNG style. Then there's the actually like game accurate, where the game graphics match the actual wrestlers in the ring. And then John's favorite, the ramp, where it's just that
just
Monster
block.
Jam ramp shape with people textured on top of it.
Yeah, no, not my favorite. Another thing I want to point out, which is very 2000s, early 2000s, on the ring apron, we include the official New Japan Pro Wrestling website, which includes http://www. Who's typing that? If you're going njpw.co.jp, that's it. You're not adding the slashes, the http. People still do that on wrestling posters to this day.
Oh, it drives me crazy.
Or like at work, sometimes they'll send me a link with that, like for text. It's like, no, I'm deleting this right away.
Yeah, drives me insane.
But overall, this game is just it's great. It's pretty. It's good looking. It flows nicely. At first, if you don't get the hang of it, which luckily we did right away, it could be a clunker. But it starts eventually just flowing really nicely once you start getting the reversals down, learning where you are in the ring and what you can do with the pieces that you have. I think it's great. Even the ref.
Yeah, and there was... What'd you say?
Even the ref.
I was going to say, if you watch Clash at the Feast this week, you will see that these refs bump, and they bump well. But, there's something about this game that I want to talk about, but in order for us to talk about it, you got to interrupt me. So I'm hoping that as I start this sentence...
Did you know?
Did you know? By using Tiger Hattori as your referee and knocking him out during the match, Kotetsu Yamamoto will referee your next match in his place and will then be unlocked for future use.
Did you know if you place two wrestlers within grappling range of each other and leave them standing for a while, they'll go into an ego-filled shoving contest, sometimes even slapping each other silly?
Did you know All-Star Pro Wrestling 2 starts at $17 on eBay and goes all the way up to $30? Some autograph copies are on eBay right now for $157, signed by Kaiji Muto and Mitsuharu Misawa.
That got me a little itchy when I saw that.
Yeah, just reading that, I'm like...
Yeah, but I didn't do it.
I can make that happen.
Like you said, if it was like a poster signed... then it would be a different story, but I don't...
That's framed, and that's the new backdrop of this beautiful background that you see.
Incredible. But the ref thing, if you're using Tiger Hattori as your ref, you don't just knock him down. You have to beat the living hell out of him, and he's done. He's out. That's when you get Kotetsu Yamamoto as your next ref, and then after that, they're both... like, he's back. He's not dead. He's both back, and now you have 5 referees to choose from for every game.
Damn.
But yeah, we didn't do the slap fight because we were constantly just trying to beat the shit out of each other. But
big fan of the double leg takedowns in our matches.
It was nice. It was a nice little tide turner when you needed it.
Oh yeah. It was even better when you went to go hit it on me and you accidentally hit it on the ref.
Then we learned how to stuff them, and it was a whole different story. Okay. But all right, this game put us through hell at first, but we ended up, faring well. But you look a little tense after that. You look, I might have given you a bit of a beating. I think it's time for some R&R, some ratings and reviews. So the only legit rating I could find on this game, it wasn't on IGN, it was GameSpot. We have a 31 out of 40 in Famitsu, and that pretty much sums it up. That's very high. And what would you say? That's about like an 80?
Yeah,
that's 75, 80-ish.
Yeah, it's a passing grade.
Now, GameSpot user ratings, we're going with the overall user average is a 3.5 out of 5 stars, only 14 ratings. The difficulty, a 3 out of 5, which is considered easy / just right, and the length of total hours put into this is around 19 hours. Again, I don't like really using those because it's not based on much. There's only a few people rating these. We have 14, in the 20s of people rating these, but it gives a sense of kind of how we rate them later on. So maybe these people are rating them in 2001. Maybe they were rating them yesterday. We don't know, but we should start putting our opinion on these.
I'm in. Let's do it. But speaking of our opinions, John, do you know what time it is?
It's time to rate the games.
The game!
All right, John. I'm going to kick us off this week
All
here.
right.
All-Star Pro Wrestling 2 for the PlayStation 2. Will you play it forever? Woo! Or future endeavor?
You're fired!
Both future, double future. We pulled out a double future for the first one last year, All-Star Pro Wrestling 1. I remember researching this one with 1 and seeing that it was a big upgrade. So going in, I got a little excited. I always love a more modern New Japan roster from the games we usually play. This game held up. Not only held up, I would go back, and if they made another one, I know there's 3, I would play this game in a heartbeat. This one exactly in a heartbeat. I would go through every single mode. I would go through every single belt. This is a big old play it forever.
Woo!
All right, but George, what about you? All-Star Pro Wrestling 2, will you play it forever or future endeavor?
This is an easy player forever.
Woo!
This game was a ton of fun. I'm absolutely going to go back and continue to play this. I actually may even go back and give the first one a shot. Kind of give myself a
little palate cleanser.
Yeah, just a refresher to see the main differences between. Well, I guess maybe I shouldn't because I'm going to be playing it in a couple of weeks anyway.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, it is coming up. Actually, George, I'm looking at the future endeavor list. Next game for both of us after you play Power Move is Backstage Assault.
And we don't even have Nick Stapp with us.
We can't have Nick Stapp because he had Play It Forever. It goes against the grain.
For year two, going back and doing future endeavor for all the games from this year. I think if it's a double future, we have to do it together.
Okay, I agree.
If it's individual, keep it individual. But if it's a double future, we should do it together.
And sometimes we don't line up with the episode, but yeah, we could figure that out. But all right,
we'll make it work.
Let's talk about. I'm not even going to throw the music or anything for Clash at the Feast because last week we played rock paper scissors and we did best of 5 and I won.
So dumb.
Well, we couldn't play Aftershock, and Jamie Patterson, who picked this game for us, said, "You know what? Play rock paper scissors for Clash at the Feast, and your winner of rock paper scissors, Johnny Clash."
Not everything's made to last. This is my life.
Now, here's the trick. I learned this a while ago. The natural hand movement makes everyone throw out scissors first. I wanted to do it.
Let me tell you something. I didn't believe you, and then I watched someone play rock paper scissors in a YouTube video from a couple of years ago, like in a skit. And they fucking threw scissors.
That's-
I was like,
Yeah.
John was right.
Yeah, so the natural hand movement of rock, paper, scissors, shoot is just to throw scissors, which is another debate in our Discord channel. It might just be a New York, Long Island thing because we say rock, paper, scissors, says shoot. Most people just say rock, paper, scissors, shoot.
Oh, you want to hear another chaos thing that I watched in that YouTube video? Because they were also deciding an argument with rock, paper, scissors. They just said they threw on scissors. They
Rock,
went
paper, scissors.
rock, papers, scissors. They threw when they said scissors.
Now, resident.
I was like, what chaos is that?
You're a drummer, George. TK Wild, resident friend of the pod, is a drummer as well, and he just said that rock, paper, scissors says shoot.
It's bop, bop, ba, ba, ba. Like
Yeah,
rhythm.
yeah. Like that just makes sense. Like rock, paper, scissors, shoot. It feels like something's missing. I don't know. I couldn't go off that.
It's the says shoot is the flourish at the end of the beat.
Yeah. Like it just, I don't know. Whatever. All right. Why don't you tell us what we're playing next week?
Next week on the podcast, John, we are playing arguably what has been one of the most requested games for us to cover. Next week, we are playing Lucha Libre AAA Heroes del Ring.
But all right. We know what we're playing next week. We just put a bow on All-Star Pro Wrestling 2. Georgie, in the words of Eddie Money, take me home.
I'm so glad you didn't say it tonight because that would have been real awkward.
Exactly why I didn't.
Oh, man. All right, well, that's going to do it for us this week on the Game Marks Podcast. Please check out our merchandise at GameMarksPod.com/shop and join us on Patreon, patreon.com/GameMarksPod. It is the best way besides listening to support the podcast, and be sure to follow us on all forms of social media at GameMarksPod. Leave us a review and a rating on Apple Podcasts and subscribe to wherever great podcasts can be found. Thank you very much for hanging out with us this week. I'm very excited for next week's game, Johnny Clash. Do that thing.
Game over. Marks.
Game Marks Podcast, put them on the radar. Playing rare games, Sega Saturn, no game shark. Johnny and George work hard and they play hard. Future endeavor games and put them in the graveyard. From the deep dive to the clash at the feast. How can I get more? That's question of the week. Follow on Twitch, there's nothing that they won't play. Game Marks Podcast every single Monday.